The podcast you're about to listen to may contain objectionable language, adult and/or immature content, mentions of Jesus Christ, and unironic readings of holy Christian scriptures. If any of this is likely to offend you in a manner that you find less than enjoyable, maybe don't listen.
Hi, I'm Pastor Bob Schaefer.
And I'm Pastor Eric Damon. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to CPTB, which doesn't stand for CrossFitters Powering Through Burpees.
Oh, we totally invited you guys to talk about Bible, but I think we should do a CrossFitters talking about burpees instead.
If I never do another burpee again in my life, it's too soon.
All right, tell our guests what we are actually here for.
We are here for comedians with pastors talking Bible, and that is just exactly what it sounds like. Every other week, we have two guest comedians on the pod here with Eric and me to talk about a passage from the Bible.
Do we just grab any passage at random?
We don't. We have a very formulaic way of doing it. We use the Revised Common Lectionary, which is a cycle of readings for every single Sunday for 3 whole years at the church. It is the readings that we'll be having at my church, at your churches, and a lot of churches around the world.
So in other words, we bring comedians onto the podcast, put no restrictions on what they can say, have them discuss what it is we're going to have to preach on Sunday. And we're still convinced this is a good idea.
So far, so good. And if we get to an episode where it just completely bombs, who will listen, right? We've got an audience of about 3 or 4, so it's all good. You won't get that call from the bishop.
What if the bishop's one of the listeners?
Wouldn't that be cool?
I don't think he is, though. But...
he's like a major influencer. He can put us over the top. Bishop, we are counting on you.
Well, let's get to who we've actually got on for our podcast today. We have Kayleigh Dumas with us. Say hello.
Hello.
And our other guest is not a performing comedian. We have my brother, Michael Martin, sitting in. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And how are you both doing tonight? You both. I do this every episode. I ask a question to 2 people and dead silence right after. You'd think I'd learn.
Got to make direct eye contact.
AI learns better than I do. Kayleigh, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. My car made it all the way here. I took the highways and everything, which is a big deal for my car right now. So I'm very happy I made it here.
Is that a big deal because it's a aging car, or big deal because it's a new car you don't trust?
It's a big deal because it's a car that perhaps shouldn't be running, but she is.
Knock on wood and say a prayer. She keeps on chugging away.
Our Father. Done. Good.
And Michael, thanks for filling in for us. We had another comic unable to sit in. And for those who are unaware of the behind the scenes here, we record in the cottage behind your house. So I gave a little tap on you to come in.
You have been our patron from day one.
Are you one of the listeners?
I am a listener. I've tuned in to multiple episodes. Very impressed. Definitely feel like I'm getting way out of my lane here, but thrilled to be sitting among
I should have researched literally
these
anything.
funny people.
Kayleigh, I think you are at least one of the more veteran comics than we've had on to this show, or does it just appear that way because you were doing it since before I knew of what is happening in comedy?
That might be what it is. I've been doing comedy for about 7 years, okay. So
that's long enough to totally. That's like your mother has lived forever because
they're like,
she's
how
as
could you
old
have
as
done
your
it for
oldest
that
memory.
Long, and you're like, it's possible.
But you weren't always from Pittsburgh. You came from the land of rich white people.
Yes, but I am only a moderately mid-class white people, but Connecticut, yeah. So I know rich white people.
Ooh.
I mean,
oh yeah.
Could you introduce me to some?
No, I look from afar.
So when did you come to Pittsburgh?
7 years ago.
Okay, so you got here and like,
Yeah.
I need to make fun of these people.
Yeah, I was really confused. Y'all are, I love you now, but it was a transition. Oh my goodness.
It
Do you
is-
say y'all on a regular basis?
I said that because I went to school in York, PA, so I don't even know how that, I don't know what that is from.
I picked up y'all just because you grew up in the same house with me. I fought the yins so hard growing up, but I need a plural you.
I'm a Minnesotan, so I just lean on you guys.
Okay.
We all
Not
need-
enough time for you all. Just
No.
You guys.
You all
Yes.
doesn't have it. Doesn't have the swagger.
I can't.
I like you guys. I like that you added Z. I can feel
Yeah,
it.
yep.
You guys.
You guys.
So we've brought you both on to discuss Holy Christian Scriptures tonight, something that we do not expect you to have any detailed knowledge of. It is helpful for you and for our listeners to at least understand what Bob and I's convictions are on Holy Scripture. So go ahead and inform them, Bob.
Yeah, we're both pastors in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and we have to like swear on a big stack of Bibles and hymnals and a bunch of other stuff that we will hold true to our confession of faith, which says that we hold the Bible to be the authoritative source and norm of our faith and our proclamation, which is like a big fancy way of saying that we believe the Bible's true. That doesn't necessarily mean we believe that it is literal, like in every aspect, right? So there are literal truths, there are poetic truths, there are figurative truths. So we believe the Bible's true and that it points us to Jesus. And so that's why we honor it, not because it is an idol that we worship, but just because it is the thing that points us to Jesus, the Son of God. And yeah, that's basically where we're coming from.
And we do not expect either of you to hold to to any of those convictions. It's helpful for us to know where you've got a squinched up look. Are you confused
I'm waiting
as to
for
what
you
we
to finish
said?
so I can then.
All right, because I'm going to ask
respond.
it. That's how we approach Scripture. It's helpful for us to know kind of what informs your discussion of it, that we'll have what your background is on either relation to Scripture, church, religion, anything in general. And since you squished up your eyes, I will let you respond.
Because I'm just curious, because the way you're posing it, unless you're just doing it because you always do it, do you guys have different religions?
From because we're from the
Same family. That's so. I was not raised within the Lutheran Church. Our family is Catholic, and we have other sibling that is not practicing in any type of religion. And I know more about your background than everyone else that we've had on this show.
That's fair.
But not everything. And so I'm
I want to hear you first.
I am leaving room open to find out. And
you
really,
holding
you also
space?
for
Are
those,
you holding
I'm
space
holding
for him?
space. I am.
You have to hold my finger. Here, put your finger out. Never mind.
Is there
Thank you.
There's,
Go on.
across the street?
It's a meme.
but there's also a big formative part of your life is that like adolescent into high school period, and I was halfway across the country when he was that age. So it's
when it all fell apart.
That's
What's
when
your
it all
age
fell apart.
difference? This is now just a.
This is just a
family.
unpacking our family. 8 years different. When my mother was pregnant with him, our mom and dad called me and our two sisters into the kitchen and broke the news by asking, what room are we going to put the baby in?
Oh.
We laughed hysterically, went back into the other room and started watching TV. And when they had to call us back in and say, no, there's actually going to be a baby. And, so
And
we
they're
had to
very
get to it.
excited for you.
Thrilled to
That
have
was-
me.
Yes, no one had to share
I
rooms.
felt the love my entire.
I feel that. The word accident has never happened around you, I'm sure. No.
But I mean, understanding the Catholic Church, a pretty involved family. We grew up in one of those families that
Every Sunday.
we would get really upset if you called us Bible thumpers, but everyone else would have called us Bible thumpers. That's the household.
I didn't know you could be a Catholic Bible thumper. Go on.
Well, but
As far as the South is concerned, you can't. I guess
Wait.
that's what I hear, right?
Yeah,
Is that
Catholics
where-
don't count as Christians down south.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well, no, you talk. Explain. And I'll talk.
well, my brother and I are kind of the opposite of one of those experiments where they separate twins at birth, but they still end up doing the same thing. You know, we grew up in the same household the entire time. I guess we separated in my formative years.
Yeah.
Maybe that was, I would call myself a spiritual person, religious curious. Maybe is that yeah. And I'm somewhat informed, but not at all compared to neither a comedian nor very well versed in religion. I'm bringing a lot to the table this evening. Yeah.
You are bringing our everyman perspective.
That's
Oh yeah, okay. Like
you bring what. So, which elements of spirituality would be that attract you? I mean, if you're calling yourself a spiritual person,
What do you believe in?
something greater than myself.
Oh my
Right.
God, my mother. What's up?
Right. Hey.
Yeah.
I think that is a fair enough statement that I'm totally cool with being compared to your mother for believing that. Right.
I feel like there's a very like white lady like Miller. She's like, you don't believe that there's something greater than you. Like that's
I'm sure there's a lot of other things that me and your mother have in common.
you have great hair. You guys have really good hair.
I don't know.
Good hair.
I'm a wild and crazy guy. All right. Like, yeah. But that's the big tenet of spirituality, I would say.
Yeah. And so you have, I mean, obviously, growing up in our house, you've been exposed to the scriptures, you've done the CCD thing, and now you're a non-practicing. I mean, would you call yourself a non-practicing Catholic, or are you just
Are you
a
a,
non-Christian now?
No, I actually still take a lot of the Bible as true. It was weird. I lived in the Midwest for a little bit, and there were a group of people that invited me to a Bible study, but asked me to leave when I said that I didn't believe everything in the book, right? But I think what I was more trying to say was similar to how you introduced this, as
Then
it's
not
not
all
all
of
literal.
it was. I mean, our understanding is that it wasn't even intended to be written as a literal history. It's not like they wrote it and messed up. That wasn't the intention of writing it. One real obvious example is the Book of Job, and now I always know the first line of it, but the entrance that talks about there was a man from, and I can't remember where he was from, was in that time a literary convention that compares to beginning your story with once upon a time. So it's obvious that this was not meant to be a literal story. This was meant to be an allegory to tell a truth. We hold that it is divinely inspired truth, but it was never intended to be a literal history.
Are there a lot of Lutherans in the Midwest? Well, you went to Minnesota, right?
Oh, the northern Midwest is Lutheran country.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's why Garrison Keillor had to pretend to be a Lutheran for.
I don't know what that sentence means.
You
not an
can't
NPR.
pick up a rock and throw it without going through a stained glass window in a Lutheran church.
Which sentence and which word?
Something Garrison Keillor, something.
Garrison Keillor, long-time running radio show, Prairie Home Companion.
See, we know that because we were in the same family, driving places on
And it featured the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the children are above average, all the women are strong, and all the men are good-looking.
Texas,
Except it was Minnesota.
North Texas.
And so he spun these tales they're kind of stem winders, these long extended rambles of stories that ultimately were very carefully crafted, but they sound like he's just kind of telling the town gossip from this fictional hometown of his. Yeah.
And a large part of the jokes were always making fun of Lutherans, and he's not Lutheran. He's Presbyterian, I think.
I think so.
But because he was in Minnesota, Lutheran is the thing that happens in Minnesota. So that's what you pretend to be.
Is that like basically the definition of selling out. No, can you sell out as far as religion?
Correct.
Like I don't.
Correct.
Yeah. But
I think developing your character is. I mean, that's just what he did. That was his character.
I think he
was like, no one asked.
True fact, Prairie Home Companion was named, he chose the name of the Prairie Home Cemetery, which was right across the street from Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, where I went to school.
True story.
True story.
True story.
Just about had a class in the Prairie Home Cemetery. Steve Paulson, my religion professor, was teaching a class on death and dying, and he was just a wonderfully morbid person. And he wanted to go and take us over to the cemetery for one of the classes, except it was winter and it was an evening class, and so it was dark. And he had the good sense to realize that taking a bunch of college kids to a dark cemetery in the nighttime hours might draw attention.
People who have never been to either Bible college or seminary, the phrase "my class on death and dying."
Well, I took a class in college that was it was origins of Christianity, right? It was like, so when you were saying they know for a fact that this was an allegorical reference, or however you were saying, like to know.
Yeah, I would, for very few things in Bible study would I say they know for a fact, but they have solid evidence suggesting such.
Yeah, so this woman, she was like a guest on the History Channel a lot, so she was pretty, right? And it was a lot of things that were sort of like that, trying to, in her view at least, create an accurate portrayal of the origins of Christianity. It was, I got an A. I did. Right.
Yeah. So we have been letting you off the hook. What is your
Kayleigh,
background?
what classes did you take, if not death and dying?
I'm so sorry. No, I'm a New England Catholic, so we did CCD. I definitely was probably scared of hell and asked a lot of questions, and I'll be guilty until the day I die. And I have all the sacraments except for getting married and dying. And now I just go sometimes on Christmas and Easter, and no one, it was so weird. Like everyone was Catholic growing up, but like, you don't talk about it. And I read the Bible. It wasn't, but I got a lot of like crosses growing up for presents, and I have a lot of nice like cross jewelry and do the sign of a cross a lot for no reason for stuff. But like,
did you finish all the first sacraments up through confirmation?
Yep. But that was, and if you talk to any New England Catholic, most of them, like 16, you get confirmed, then you can stop going to church. You get the choice. Everyone gets the choice, and they bolt.
You had to wait till 16.
Yes.
We had 8th grade was confirmation year.
Well, we're baptized when we can't even talk, so like they speed it up. Real.
Well, I was Catholic. Two other. He's the only one not raised
you
Catholic.
You were raised Catholic. Yeah. Wait, how old were you for confirmation?
8th grade.
That's freaking weird.
Yeah, that's what they did in the Pittsburgh diocese at that point in time. I think they're even younger now.
Y'all are real Catholic.
I think they're trying to like rush them through the system.
Yeah, they have to because
you drop out too quick.
Yep.
I didn't know you could speedrun Catholicism.
Mm-hmm. You can speedrun anything Catholicism if you really want to. Classes and talk to the priest, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you say occasionally you go on Christmas Eve.
And I'm
with family
with
around?
my family. Okay. I make my family go. I am the person.
You're the one.
Yep.
Because
it's
this
weird.
is because the Creaster Christian.
The Creasters.
That's a thing that once upon a time you just knew that your church was going to be full on Christmas Eve
and Easter,
and they're not really coming out too much. Like you're the one of a dying breed.
Yep.
There's a lot of folks who if I haven't gone the rest of the year, like why would I go that night? And I'm really looking.
They don't
at
have the correct Catholic guilt.
a few family
That's where
members.
It's falling off.
Yeah, Bob. You hear that? We need to guilt them more, and then we'll at least get 2 days of full churches.
Excellent.
Full churches.
That is.
And we don't only go to the ones with the kids, so because that was fun.
So is Creaster something you learned while you were
Christmas, Easter? Yeah, man.
Ours was it's C&E Catholics.
Yeah, C&E or Creaster.
What is it? Lunch? What's the line? Lunch?
Cafeteria Catholics.
Yes, that's the one we called ourselves all the time. Cafeteria Catholics.
Although I like lunchroom Catholics.
This is a
cafeteria
new term to me. What is a cafeteria Catholic?
Cafeteria Catholics. You pick and choose. And that's actually not just
a la carte Catholic.
That's actually more referencing not just going to like Easter in Catholicism. That generally is like a breed of Catholics of like you go every Sunday. We'd go to all the classes, and then your parents, my mom, would bring us in the car, and then debrief and be like, "This is what we believe, and this is what we don't."
And
because some of the show is like, wild.
I actually really kind of respect that, though, the parental responsibility in saying, okay, here are our family convictions, and let's talk about these things that we just heard at church. And I would love it if I knew that my families were doing that on the way home. Okay, here's where Pastor Bob's just full of shit. Don't listen to that.
Yep.
I require the catechism students in their sermon reports to come up with one point of my sermon that they disagreed with, because I think that is such an important part of becoming a mature person of faith, that you don't just take spoon-fed whatever the person from leadership said. I mean, I speak between 10 and 15 minutes about things that are pertaining to life and death. I said at least one thing in that period of time that you're not swallowing, and if you're going to grow up, you need to learn to be able to say.
Is it that you don't swallow it, or that you don't understand
it?
Nope.
God damn it, you're not comic.
If there was another comedian here, we would have had to use our warning for that being explicit content.
You disappointed me, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm the straight man.
That's
you the color commentator.
So you should be a comic right now. I don't understand.
You're Philomena Kunk. He's the person just brought in to talk about things. Do you not know Philomena Kunk? You have to watch Philomena Kunk. Kunk on Earth, Kunk on Life.
Stop saying that word.
She is.
Please.
Google it. You'll love her.
But first you have to pay attention to Garrison Keillor.
Okay, first
Garrison Keillor, Philomena Kunk.
I have a homework for after. I didn't do my homework before, and this is what has happened.
We'll send you home. So, in general, I'll give it out to both of you, because I don't know what your childhood Catholic days, positive memories or negative memories.
I would say probably like neutral. And I'm always tired.
And
we were Catholics are mean. You were Catholic. What was your child service? What was your service? What time was your CCD?
The CCD was Wednesday night.
Okay, no, that was ours when
CCD
we were
was
older.
So much worse than
CCD
church on Sunday.
We would have church on Sunday at fucking 8 a.m. and then you'd have CCD after.
Oh no, only the old retired people go to 8 a.m. mass. We had 11 o'clock mass.
8 a.m. my whole childhood.
Oh, no wonder you ran away. You still go back at Christmas Eve. That's because it's not at 8 a.m.
It's not at 8 a.m. I was like, I go to freaking church if it's not at 8 a.m. Oh my God.
I'm actually still a Christmas Eve attender. I know the guy that does it. Actually,
he's one of my family that comes in and adds an extra body or two in the congregation.
I heard that you guys don't have midnight mass.
Nothing is standard from ELCA church to ELCA church. So there are plenty that have a midnight mass. There are plenty that don't. Unlike the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church, that they're like franchises. That there are requirements. Their liturgies have very specific requirements, and a priest can actually do them wrong in a way that they get disciplined for.
That makes sense, actually.
We don't have we have rubrics that this is what we'd suggest you would do during worship, but you don't have to do any of it. Our confessions, which is the highest grade of rubric that we have, the things that we hold to be true exposition of the way to look at the scriptures, talk about what is needed to perform the sacraments, but not what is needed to just have a worship service. So we have a lot of free roam in what you do for a worship service. Mm-hmm.
So we have found at our church that we used to have a 10:30 service. and people just weren't coming. As the congregation gets older, fewer of them want to drive after dark, and definitely not that late. And so you didn't have the younger families coming, you didn't have the older members coming, and it was kind of me and the music director and the musicians who were required to be there, and then a few people. And so we kind of said, why are we doing this? Is there a better time? So we moved that service over to one that was an early service at like 4:00. And so, we've got room to experiment that way. I think there are people who miss having a candlelight service, but we also try to share, here are what the other congregations in the area are doing, and some of them have later services like that too.
I like the early. Give me the early bird special. I'll take.
Yeah, I have.
Give me in.
One of my congregations likes the late one, 11, so it can end at midnight.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
You can ring in Christmas Day.
Okay, that's nice. Also, to be fair, like I'm talking from like my childhood where like I remember like going for Christmas Eve to my cousins and like we all had to be out at a certain time because they did midnight mass and like it was a whole thing. And then when we went, it was a whole thing. But like I haven't been probably the last 5 years because I haven't made it home maybe for Christmas. And I'm not going to force them to do it when I'm not home that much. But like, I don't know, maybe the congregations are a lot different now.
Yeah, within the Roman Catholic Church, there are much more strict requirements for the liturgy, because there's a divine liturgy that it's not as structured as in the Eastern Orthodox Church, where really you have to do this exact thing, or they come in and take what is on the altar in the Eastern Orthodox Church. There is an item on the altar that is there to let you know that they are an authorized place of Orthodox worship, and if you're caught doing it wrong, the bishop can come and remove that from your altar, and and it's like losing your licensing, like Ford taking their Ford sign down off of the dealership.
I can't tell if you're just making that up or not.
It's a thing. Now, I don't know enough about the Eastern Church to know if that is specific to one of the branches of the Eastern. So I don't know if that's like Greek or Ukrainian or if it's all the Eastern Orthodox. I have a very limited knowledge of the Eastern Church.
I'm just trying to picture our bishop coming into church on Sunday and taking this thing, whatever it might be. Oh my gosh, how dramatic.
What was like, all right, now I ask you guys, like how did you grow up with religion then? Because like, I am enjoying that like there is a very like, yes, there's a respect of the religion from all three of you, but there's definitely not a healthy dose of fear of the people teaching you, and I don't understand that.
So, I mean, fear for me, our pastor who taught us in confirmation was well known for his deadly aim with the chalkboard eraser. That if you crossed him, you could expect that flying your way at warp speeds. But that was about the most of the fear. It was a pretty good-natured kind of a fear. So I grew up Lutheran, and I was a churchy kind of a kid. Big surprise. And I think that I kind of went through this period in about junior high school where I wasn't sure what I believed. And I did have a friend that had encouraged me and had challenged me. And then I went to a retreat at about that time where the theme verse that was chosen was where somebody who was coming to Jesus asking for a miraculous healing for his child. Jesus asks him if he believes, and he says, "I believe, help my unbelief." And that verse, that idea, because Jesus heals his child. Jesus doesn't say, well, that's not good enough, just believe harder. He accepts, "I believe, help my unbelief." And that has stuck with me. I'm still a pastor who says, "I believe, help my unbelief." And so that kind of was the foundational thing for me. I figured out pretty early on that it seemed like seminary was where I was headed. And so I was, I guess, what we would call a pipeliner. I went to
That's a derogatory term, by the way.
Is it?
A pipeliner is.
I was always totally okay with being a pipeliner.
Yeah, I think they're trying to adopt it and reuse it like some other words in colloquial English, but it's still it's a as someone who is not a pipeliner.
Okay.
Is it derogatory towards the pipeliners or
towards the pipeliners?
Oh, sorry. I'm also sorry for using it.
A pipeliner is somebody who went to Bible college, straight to seminary, straight to being a pastor. And I did a program that was designed for a lot of second career people who retired, got in, or had been at least in a job for 15 years.
People that didn't know about Lutheran.
And slash that. And so looking at these 22, 23-year-olds who are about to go out and have a congregation when you're 20 years older than them.
Oh, so you're just jealous.
You're like, it's more of a like, you're not, you feel bad for them. Because there's a like, we're going to go save the world.
Because no matter how much education you have, you still got 20 more years. And you're like, and you're like, all right.
And you have 21 more years within a congregation. To look at them and go, you are not going to save the world. You're going to have a hard time getting them to change the hymns they sing. Just get used to that.
And none of us pipeliners have the benefit of any real world experience really at all. Eric, when he started out, he actually had a real job. Something not to do with preaching.
What?
It is possible to go through that pipeline process and have your head so far up your theological ass that you just don't even know what you're getting into. And you do. I mean, this is like a notoriously dangerous time for a first call pastor is you land in a church and you are so full of ideas that you've been thinking about for all of these years about what you're going to do when you're a pastor. And then the reality of actually you are called to live with and lead these people and to be their pastor. And they may not wish to do all of these great things or to have all of these great things done to them, which is really kind of what most of us go in there doing. There's a reason that a lot of us do not end up staying very long in our first calls. And I think it is because it is such a learning process. And it's a good and a holy ministry to the congregations that are willing to have first call pastors because we are so wet behind the ears, so green. And you learn a lot. I think that the pastors who are coming in as second and third careers have I think a better perspective on things because they have seen life and they have seen the world. And so I've seen that in you, Eric. You came in with a very good perspective.
Plenty to learn. I mean, you come in and like starting any new job, you come in and mess it all up. But you can distinguish between what is just the BS of any job and what is the BS of this specific job by the time you've been in 2 or 3 careers. The first time you work a full-time job, you are just convinced that this is what sucks. I need to get a new full-time job. And then you get a second one and you're like, oh no. Just all full-time work sucks.
What are the grandiose plans and designs that you have that you want to do to these people? I mean, she's nodding in agreement. Like,
it can be as simple as just you've got these ideas about how you want to do confirmation class, and you come in and they've been doing confirmation class before you ever got there. They have been successful in having confirmation class for years and decades. There might very well be somebody there who has been the confirmation teacher, and you are coming in and saying, hey, here's how we're going to do confirmation now that I'm here. Ta-da! And you step on people's toes. It's so easy to be so caught up in what you want to do that you don't see that they've already been doing a lot of good stuff before you ever got there, and they will continue to do good stuff long after you are gone. And yeah, I think it's just that as a new pastor, you are so excited to try things because you've never had the power to do that, and you don't realize that a big part of it is meeting people where they're at. You can't lead people if you don't go to them in the first place.
And I think it's an excellent transition that our reading today is of Jesus busting into the synagogue and trying to usher off all of his big plans at his first time back from the desert to start his ministry.
That was such a good transition. Yeah. It's almost like you planned that.
Stand-up comic.
So, Bob, if you would read us that scripture so we can discuss it.
I would be delighted to. So this is the gospel reading for the third Sunday after Epiphany, January 26th, 2025, which is right around the corner. The gospel comes from Luke chapter 4. As Eric said, near the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, he visits his hometown of Nazareth. In the words of Isaiah, he states and claims his identity, purpose, and mission. Here's the text. Then Jesus, filled with the power of the Spirit, returned to Galilee, and a report about him spread through all the surrounding country. He began to teach in their synagogues and was praised by everyone. When he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as was his custom. He stood up to read, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of all in the synagogue were fixed on him. Then he began to say to them, "Today, this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing."
So I've already told you this is Jesus popping back into his hometown and trying to announce this mission. He's called a few disciples at this point in time, if I remember correctly. But he's really just kicking things off, announces it, and the next thing that happens, they turn on him. They try and throw him off a cliff.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, but just with that much background, before Bob or I dive in with anything, what takeaways do you have? What jumps out at either of you as this being the first thing that some new kid coming back into town, into his hometown? Remember that too. It's not just he's not off somewhere else that knows him as famous Jesus. They all remember him when he was a kid. And he says the words, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of our Lord's favor."
That was a good summary you gave us right at the is what I would take away. What level is the Bible written at? Is it like a fifth grade level? Like
there's a lot of authors in there. So really,
I'm looking for like a newspaper.
The Pauline letters are written for the Greek of the time for an educated person, where like Mark's gospel is about as basic as you just had to be literate enough to actually get your words down to write Mark's gospel.
And then the translations are just at different levels. So any English Bible you have, some of them are translated for about a third grade reading level, which is around the same as USA Today. And that would be, well, we don't need to get into all the different letters, but the one you hear at a Catholic or a Lutheran church is probably, and what we just read here is, I think, probably more like about a fifth grade or sixth grade reading level.
Anything jump out at you at first glance, Kayleigh?
Is he like not being facetious when he's saying like everything I just said just like happened because you heard it? Is he being dead serious?
He is.
I feel like that's a good question for his audience, right? I mean, that's what they're asking themselves.
Like, are we going to get up and everyone out there can see again?
So, I mean, yeah. That's what he's saying. I mean, that's what he's saying, and he is also telling them that this has been fulfilled. Like
welcome. Thanks for listening. I did it.
This is happening.
He like drops the mic.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, thank you. Yep.
Drops the mic.
Yeah, 100%. The scripture that apparently everyone has read every Sunday up until he did it. It would be a
different one. And so the change is that he has said this has been fulfilled. Everyone else that would have ever read this passage from Isaiah would have read it, and it would have been a hopeful promise for the future. And he finished reading it, rolls up the scroll, and goes, "So that's done now." And
this is after he's been around.
Only just a little bit, though.
But not here. How far away is Galilee from here in this world? In this real, actual world. So the world.
The entire biblical region, the entire biblical region that the story takes place in until you get to where Paul's traveling away. Think that the furthest you're going to get away is like from West Virginia to Erie.
Okay.
Like it's all a pretty localized tale.
Okay.
For them, but just like, Erie and West Virginia are very different towns. And if you don't have a car,
it's going to be a bit of a trek.
It's a very different place, but it's not the other end of the world.
So Jesus has been getting a name for himself. He's been going around. He's not just a local sensation, but he's kind of a regional. He's on a tour.
He's not too big yet, though. But he's been in the wilderness. He has been tempted by the devil.
He's coming back from the desert, right?
Yeah, he's been tempted by the devil and shut the devil down.
So he's a comic who doesn't have a stand-up special, but he wants one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Cool. He's featured a lot. He's headlined a couple places, but he wants.
He's playing big rooms,
yes.
but he's not the one that's on the poster.
No, not yet.
An up and comer. Wherever he's going, he's getting an audience. And he's growing his audience as he goes along.
But he did go to the wilderness and meet the devil, so he did have a meeting with Harvey Weinstein.
But he said
resisted
no. He said no.
Said no.
Yes. Good for him. Proud of him.
Did not see that coming. And so now and his reputation precedes him. His hometown, they know what he's been up to. They've been hearing about this, and you get the sense that there is some anticipation here that this is the local boy made good, and he's finally coming back, and now he's going to do all of these things that we have been hearing about, because he's done some signs, he's done some miracles, he's preached all kinds of things, and there's an excitement that like he's going to do that here. But you can imagine there's also in the room, the people are saying, look, I changed his diapers. I know this kid. And who does he think he is? So I think you have both of those things in the room at the same time.
So Harvey Weinstein, right? Jesus had saw features, right?
There's the hair. I don't know.
He was a carpenter up till now.
I could really make your career.
Well, I feel like you come home and it does sort of like blow smoke up, a little bit.
And this is also the gospel account where in his baptism that has happened, when the voice of God comes down, there are different versions of it. And in one of them, the voice of God says, "This is my son, the beloved, with whom I am pleased," which leads you to think maybe Jesus didn't hear that. Water was still in his ears. God was talking to the other people. This is the gospel account where God says, "You are my son. With you I am well pleased." So Jesus is coming off of that confirmation that I am the Son of God, of one being with the Lord, there is room in the other accounts for him to still be trying to figure out if the stories that mom and dad told me are really true.
I'd be like, let's see it. Like, don't proclaim. Come on. We got a blind guy down the corner. Let's get some.
Now, if you get into
you just hit the nail on the head of why so many people aren't religious. You're like, show me.
Do it. That's not faith. Then I suppose.
Yeah, you're like, why can't I see it?
I don't know. I can't make that leap.
Kayleigh, I'm curious, as a comedian, you've got like 7 years of comedy under your belt at this point. Yeah. Have you had the experience of performing like for family and friends, like something that feels kind of like a homecoming?
Yes. And it is. He's so cocky. Like that's insane. That's insane. You get excited, but like that's a wild thing to just like roll up and be like, "I'm here, bitches." Like I didn't want anyone to, like I told my family, but like they're like, "I want to come," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna talk about stuff you don't want to hear." But like they came and supported, but like it was terrifying. And it's crazy, and it's also like your family. It's like not the same. Like they're just gonna be like, "Oh my god, you did the thing," and it's like. What you mean? This is the thing. Like look at me. I'm the Son of God. Like that's what he's trying to say. He's like, I'm doing the thing, but cockier.
Is that how you feel when we stalk you at your shows?
I wonder if Jesus did have any of those emotions. I mean, we say that he was fully God and fully human. What if it was kind of butterflies in his stomach going back to his hometown and preaching in front of these people who saw him grow up.
Oh yeah, like from like as a taking religion out of it. If I'm just reading this as like a comic, he's blowing smoke up his own ass on this stage right now. Like he has zero confidence because he knows everyone. If you have an audience that you don't know, that's a completely different thing. You know every single person, and you probably have light, and you can look at them. That's terrifying.
And there's scripturally, there's some backing to that. I mean, in his baptism, he improvs it. John comes up and talks to him, and he doesn't have to dive into scriptures. He can just tell John authoritatively what we're going to do. And here he is back in his hometown, and the first thing he has to do is pull out the authority of scriptures to back up what he's saying. He doesn't have that confidence that he has when he's out on the road. And so, I could squeeze that into an actual textually backed up take on him.
And he's had the scroll of Isaiah put in his hands. So he chose the text. He had to have this in mind and scrolled to it and found it. But he didn't choose Isaiah. That was, whatever. It's like us having the gospel reading here. We're reading from Isaiah today. It's a bold choice. So what do you think of his basically kind of his mission statement? Do you think of that as like the mission of Jesus, as you have been taught it by Eric and I have each read it.
That is the way that we are trained to read this, that Jesus is declaring what the mission of the church should be. And the mission of the church should be to bring good news to the poor, to proclaim release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to let oppressed go free, and to proclaim the year of our Lord's favor. And an opportunity we get when we bring comics and a brother that is at least not involved in the church as much is to ask from people who don't live in church bubbles, does that sound like the mission that you see the church trying to live out, or at least preaching that we're trying to live out?
Does this touch on just general equality in any way?
It touches on whatever you want it to touch on.
Well, within reason.
I'm just a trader waiting for one over-leveraged trade to bring me, but I could hear that coming. Yeah, I think it does do a pretty good job. In short, I couldn't poke a hole in generally other things he should be striving to do to improve, right, the world. Like if you can, what if you don't deserve to be free as a captive, right? Every captive isn't just let's let that guy go, right? No, she looks mortified. I said something.
No! In this context, I don't think he's splitting hairs.
That's the more conservative wings of the church are going to start diving in here and finding all the exceptions. That certain poor were just too darn lazy. That's why they're poor. So they're either going to come out with that exceptions with why they don't need to be set free, or they're going to over-spiritualize the good news. The good news has nothing to do with the fact that you're hungry and I have a sandwich. It's going to only have to do with the fact that after you die of hunger, you're going to go to heaven.
So I've been compared to a middle-aged mother and an ultra-wing, right-wing conservative so
which
far.
You're a comedian. Welcome. Oh, sorry.
Are there right-wing comedians? Is that I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Wait, are you making fun of us?
Oh, that's a dead serious.
Oh
really?
my fucking God.
Is that the first expletive?
Yes, and it was. I'm sorry.
And it was deserved.
And it was so. This has been a week.
Get out right now and go
back to your own home. No, that's literally like the whole concept of comedy for the past fucking 10 years. Is right-wing comics being like, we're getting silence, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's huge right-wing comics. They're very popular. They have a base.
I'm trying.
Like,
it's a real
comedy is subjective.
Like Joe Rogan.
What?
Think of all them, that whole world.
I don't think of Joe Rogan as a comedian, though.
Well, that's actually true too.
he just
well spotted.
I don't
He has a podcast, and he's like, sometimes someone laughs, and it's me. So
I just miss news radio Joe Rogan.
I miss Fear Factor Joe Rogan. I would have met him. I wanted to be on Fear Factor so bad.
I miss MMA Joe Rogan.
What?
That was the only good thing that he ever.
Was he always bald, though? Because that would explain a lot.
Through most of Joe Rogan's career, I had no access to media. I was
if Jesus
living without
didn't
a
have that
television.
nice head of hair, he wouldn't have burst into that room.
Oh, absolutely
drum
not.
that,
And if he wasn't-
those locks, really, I mean,
If you're not attractive, your leadership is.
Yeah, you definitely now you do because you got white Jesus busting in, so
I
it's
was just saying,
definitely
like, you are white
right
Jesus
white
right now.
Jesus with a dad that's
White-
important, you know.
Yep,
Like,
100%. My dad bought this club. Let me up.
The Nepo baby is starting his first turn to preach here. So we are approaching the end of time. So one thing I do want to bring up, because it's in the last part, proclaim the year of our Lord's favor, that's a concept known as Jubilee, which is
Not the X-Men.
which is so you have just like every seventh day you take a day of rest. Every seventh year they were supposed to give the land a rest. So you set away all your food and you don't plant in the land on the seventh year to let the land rest and recover to keep replanting afterwards. That's part of the
It's
Sabbath
just purely
command.
agricultural science.
And then-
wonder.
They listened to one Native American that year.
And on the
It gets better.
on the seventh Sabbath year, so the 50th year is a year of Jubilee where you reset everything. All debts are erased. Everybody starts from scratch over again to avoid generational inequality in the kingdom that God has set up.
If you've sold your property, you go home to your property that is your family's hereditary property.
It's a reset year. And
How many years did this last?
It's not clear that it was
It's
ever
not
actually
clear that it was
observed.
ever actually
great.
happened.
So this was just
People
in the
who
kingdom
had-
of heaven? Great.
This
Go
was
on.
this was the rules, and then after 50 years in the kingdom that was given to them, the people who had all the stuff were like, "We don't want to give up the stuff."
Did they forget that this kingdom is with
But
humans?
it was that was the rules that God set up when they entered. And interestingly, for those who got to preach it this year, is Pope Francis has declared 2025 a year of Jubilee.
Good Lord.
I saw him go to a prison in Italy a little bit ago. Was he going to release all the captives? This is true.
I mean,
Wouldn't that be something if he did?
That's not. It has nothing to do with your farmland.
he
but,
doesn't have that kind of authority, but part of declaring it a year of Jubilee is an intentional declaration that the Catholic Church is supposed to spend 2025 being very intentional about justice issues and equality and reconciliation of differences throughout the next year. And for those of us who have to preach it, I think I should have prepared, but I had a busy week. Before I preach this, I will be Googling more and looking into what it is actually entailed in the planned activities for the year of Jubilee for the Catholic Church, because there's obviously a difference. Isaiah's scrolls were Jewish scrolls about entering into the promised land, and now we're into a well-established hierarchical Roman Catholic Church. But the concept is tied in together. Jubilee is that Sabbath year.
Justice was the word that I was looking for, not equality. Back a while. It's better that way.
But you would like to underline that you only think certain people should get justice. Some people should stay in jail.
Well, I am a right-wing conservative.
Yes, I just want to make sure we have.
Sparky can't get, I'm going to be embarrassed when I listen to that later. I know. When I'm...
No, you were so sincere about it, and I was like, no, I would love to hear this. But I get what you're saying. I understood where you're going.
Because I wasn't really trying to pick it. Well, first of all, it was like, well, I've got reading comprehension going for me here. What can I find? To look at it. It wasn't like...
No, I appreciate that. I understand. You're like, but what if they should be there? I was like, no.
I mean, it was brutal back then.
It's brutal now.
It is. It's
Rehabilitation. Let them go.
Harm reduction. Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, and if I can put this in there, the idea that there is hope, right? I mean, one of the things that I think is really hard about prison is sometimes that there can be such very long sentences, and then once you get out, everything is so against you that the chances that you're going to go back in are really, really high. And so I think a lot of people just don't have hope. And I feel like the Jubilee has a certain kind of a hopefulness built in, the idea that every so many years, if we observe this, that there is a Control-Alt-Delete on the system, and we go back to a state where I can hold out for that long. All of the things are going to be reset, and that is... I mean, for some people, that's going to be pretty bad news. For the people who hold the loans, that doesn't feel so great. But for society, what if that is a good thing and it's a hopeful thing that you can go back, you can reset, you can have a mulligan?
But wouldn't that go back to what you didn't intentionally mean to say, but like equality or like equitable, whatever, how you say that one, of like, why isn't the system good all the time? Why do we have to wait every 50 years to have hope that like shit can get turned back? Like, why aren't we trying to fix it all the time? And I think that's probably a really solid frustration where it's like, okay, these people, even in prison, if you want to do both of that, like you have the hope, you get out, but everything's against you. And it's like, everyone wants to be like, all right, how do we help the people who get out of prison? Why are we not going back to the beginning and being like, it's set up to not help them when they get out? Why are we even setting it up that way?
Yep.
So
yep. I like the idea that we are called to, Micah in his prophetic career speaks on behalf of the Lord, and he says that the Lord requires us simply to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with our God. And I feel like those are good marching orders. And I also feel like just because of the nature of human beings, we will build systems that over time end up, not because anybody's trying, but just because of who we are and how things kind of accumulate over time, they will become less just. They will become less kind. They will become less humble and less with our God. And that there might be a need for a Sabbath reset.
And I think it's built in, what you're saying is built into this mission statement, because there's release to the captive, but just before that is good news to the poor. And to paraphrase Desmond Tutu, when he was accused of preaching a social gospel, that I don't preach a social gospel, but bread to the hungry is good news. And so it's not, that's part of the over-spiritualization of it. You're looking at a person who's dying of hunger and you're like, there's good news, buddy. Jesus loves you. And then you walk away. That's James gets pretty upset about that.
But that's also a really good perspective too, because it's like, I'm coming from a place of like, just be better, just like want to do the good thing, but it's like you're wishing for a lot for that. And so it's also true, like, it also, two things are the same. Like I would love if that's how it was and people want to just fix it, but also humans are gonna they're gonna be stupid. And so it's nice to have it would be nice to have a reset, to be like, all right,
I've been around for a few multiples of 7, and I've yet to see a reset happen, really.
Despite
every 4
God's
years
command,
apparently, but
oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh
my God, it is every 8. Is this the Jubilee?
I'm just going to keep me fingers crossed on that one right now, and just we're going to ride it out, white knuckled.
Well, it's this turn the other cheek business, right? Like it might work, but things take a little bit longer. You got to turn the cheek a lot.
And sometimes you just have to hit someone.
Right?
Like sometimes doing that multiple times is the wrong thing to do.
Jesus does say turn the other cheek, but he also, when he's mad at the temple, he sits down and patiently builds a whip. and then chases people with it. I mean, that is as premeditated violence as you can get. He braids a whip together, just slowly going, y'all gonna get it when this is done.
Handcrafted artisanal whip. And that's where we're going to leave things.
Yeah, I think we are
backing that up. I was like, what if you do have to hit someone? It's like, actually,
we are going to leave the prophet Isaiah on Jesus eventually creating a handcrafted artisanal whip. Thanks to both of you for sitting down with us. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Whip us. Sorry.
No, I'm not going to whip you.
Sorry.
That's just very. He talked about calling the bishop early on. I'll be in so much trouble if I whip you.
You're gonna get the thing taken off of. You're gonna come take
Nice
it.
callback.
Thank you. I don't know what it is. We never got the name.
Is there anything you'd like to plug? Shows or
Ooh, every third Thursday at Arcade Comedy Theater, we have a comedy open mic for queer, femme, and I forget the third one, but anyone's welcome.
I think it was queer women and femme.
Yeah, queer women and femme. And if you're all three, definitely come.
Show up.
Definitely show up.
And I saw a lot of folks that were like me.
Oh yeah, a lot of
taking spots.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a
you
queer
don't
woman.
have to be a queer woman or femme.
You just have to be friendly.
You just have to be friendly to such.
Okay.
Like it's just the vibe is friendly to that, but you can
third
go.
Thursday at Arcade
Comedy Theater.
10 o'clock if you can stay up that late.
10 o'clock, we stay up that late next month, but after that's 9 p.m.
Right now, anybody listening to this is saying that other guy is definitely not friendly to that. But I am. I'm here to. That would be my parting
He
word.
does look exactly what you think, but he's super friendly.
Well, thank you to anybody out there who is still listening. Look, if you're offended, we're sorry.
Yeah, but you actually listened to this long. It's totally your fault. We're not sorry.
You know who you are. You are still listening, so do us a solid and plug us wherever you can. Listen to us on any place you can get your podcasts and share us with all of the people in your life you love.
Share us with the people you hate too. We'll take the listeners.
Absolutely. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more comedy. And a week from now, we're going to do a short take.
Another short take.
We'll be here too.
Until then, may the Holy Spirit do her thing in your life.